Hello, everybody. How are you? I can't believe I'm here. Hello. And I see that Lisa was our first person here. So glad to see her. We've got Kathy Klein. We've got Lisa again. We've got Marsha and we've got Cheryl so far. And I've got some fun new pictures to show you. Miss Lisa sent some wonderful pictures, and she is every bit as cute as I thought she was. You know how sometimes you can just tell a person's personality by the words they choose when they type their messages. And I could tell, and that was wonderful. So I was hoping to have, hello, Sonia Dearheart. I was hoping to have some pictures of the quilt show I judged yesterday. But I forgot my new computer only takes little tiny mini memory cards. And I filmed it on a bigger one. So I've got to try to figure out how to, I thought when I went there, I would take cameras with myself, pictures, with my cell phone, and then I would take a video. Well, I expected 35 to 40 quilts when I got there, and instead there were 56 quilts. I'm not kidding you. It was busy. And it was a fun day, and Mark was wonderful. He's starting to realize what things are important. So he always checks the backs of quilts, wants to see how the stitching's looking coming through. He checks now the binding to make sure it's full binding and all that. Well, we had several winners. We had this wonderful, I always forget her last name. It's something like Jurgen. And her first name is Ashley. And if you saw her work, you're transformed. She is so talented. And I think you listened, write this name down. It's just like I used to chat with Corey Yoder back when she was a cutie. I forget what site it was. And I told her, girl, you've got talent. You're going to go somewhere. And she wouldn't have any idea who I am, I'm sure. But I just saw this talent in that girl and thought, And now she's a fabric designer and a quilt celebrity. Well, this Ashley Jurgen, I'm not sure if that's exactly her name, but I know it starts with a J. And, but you watch for her. I had told her 2 years ago she needed to move to a bigger stage, that her work was ready for the national stage. And luckily she took my advice, and she's already won a second place ribbon at one of the big AQS shows. And the quilt that I judged best in show is the quilt that 1 second it's going to be traveling around. And then the quilt that all of the attendees voted for their fan favorite was one of hers too. So she won numerous awards yesterday. Her work was just, and this is what is so neat about her. Why do I look at this person and go, wow, she's going to be a name on the big stage? Because her work is recognizable. She has a signature look. Jenny Beyer has always had a signature look. Think of some of the big name quilters. Carol Doak. Speaking of Carol Doak, there's one of her patterns. She had a signature look. That's what brings a good quilter up into star status. In fact, it was so funny because Mark always kind of went ahead because I was writing judges' comments. I really love leaving judges' comments because I value the work they do, and they're even entering it. Hello, Miss Carol. And so I always try to write something very positive, and then I will find a little something that maybe they can work on that might help them in the future when they enter quilt shows. But I try to say it in a very positive way, because every quilt is beautiful because someone took the time and the effort to make it. So you start at that point and then you work up. Now, so what I was saying, and that's one of the reasons our Jody, I don't think she's here yet, but I think our Jody has got some potential. She has developed a Jody style. She has a Jody voice. Well, this Ashley, when I show you, I'm going to try to end up getting that. I'll get the video and I will put it together and post it on the site. Maybe we'll do a little chat during it. So, hi, Miss Polly. And Jeannie's here. Yay. Alberta's here. Yay. And so, if you have a distinctive voice, then you have a place out there in the quilt world. Ricky Timms. You can look at a Ricky Timms quilt. You know it's Ricky Timms. That's what I don't have yet, but I'm trying to develop it. Most of the quilts I judged yesterday, I would have a hard time doing as good a job. Now, that's just, I kind of, when I walked around looking at the quilts, I kind of thought, those who can do, and those who can't teach. And I kind of thought of myself, but I'm not an accurate piecer. I'm not good with the tiny details. That's why I love doing art quilts. And so, I admire it. And I think I'm a good judge because I think I take all things into consideration, but I'm not a certified judge, although I'm trying to decide, do I want to do it or not? Mark said, Deb, that's a lot of work. It was 4 hours judging the 56 quilts because I really put my all into it. And I look at the front, back, I check all the details. I don't just walk past and go. I really take my time. And I feel like that they've put the work into it, that's what it deserves, that time. So it was a busy day yesterday. I am worn out. I'm probably a little sunburnt. And Mark was invaluable. He helps write things down, but now he's gotten so good that he'll kind of, did you see this? And I go, oh, I didn't see that. He catches things sometimes I haven't gotten to yet. And I'll give out a number, like there's 4 categories, and I'll give a number, and he'll go, and I'll go, you know what, you're right. Because sometimes I tend to be a little positive on my numbers. And the thing is, you have to leave yourself room that when you come across that other one, so you've really got to look at all of it, kind of stand back and scan it. So Ashley is amazing. And she's from the Galax, Virginia area. And if you know of one of the quilt shops there, she will go in and use their machine and kind of bring customers into the door. So be looking for her. But please remember that name. You will be hearing from her. Her quilts are amazing. And I could tell what quilt she had done. She had really taken time with and what quilt she was just busy doing. And I'd kind of make a little comment like, be careful with that binding, keep it sharp. Because, I remember never wanting to enter a show and have my work judged. But, I had the wrong attitude. I came from a defensive, that's my baby quilt. Now, I like the idea of putting my work out there, especially because it's art quilting. I will never be able to create a show quality pieced traditional quilt. I won't. I don't have it in me. And that's okay. And for me, my gift is art quilting. It's that the quirky idea. That's where I do well. And in fact, this is a paper piecing quilt. But when I pulled it out today, especially after judging the show yesterday, some of my quilting made me wince because this was an early example of my quilting. But you know what? I was learning. And the more we do, the better we are. The more we know, the better decisions we make. It's all good. And I told Mark on the way home, I think sometimes my part in this quilt world, in this quilt life, is to inspire and uplift and challenge and cheer you to do things maybe you thought you couldn't do. So I think that's where I fit in. And you know what? That's good enough. We don't all have to be award-winning quilters to have our voice mean something. We all have something to offer, and you all have something to offer. So I will be showing you some amazing quilts. And there was a Bali wedding quilt. Bali Wedding Star, I think it's called. There were some really amazing quilts to show you. And then there were some that were very sweet, but they came with love. And there was even a child's quilt. And I made sure that I wrote a very positive note on that, because when you realize a child's going to make a quilt, that's exciting. Turned out it was Ashley's son, and he did a great job. I told him, I think I wrote on there, and I know I told him, that was a happy quilt. And so that's exciting. And he couldn't have been much over 11. I mean, it was so cute. So anyway, I like the stimulation from judging. I like having to kind of stay current and know what I'm talking about. But I had a wonderful heart moment, and I would like to tell you about my heart moment. All right, so judging 56 quilts, sometimes things start to blur together. It's a lot. I have such admiration for the Big Quilt Show judges. They are something else. And sometimes, if you want to say, why did they pick that one? Give them some leeway. It's a huge job and a huge responsibility. 2 years ago, because I didn't do it last year because of COVID, they closed it down. But 2 years ago, Mark heard a woman complain what a bad judge I was because I picked the wrong one. Sometimes when you're a judge, you want to judge it and hurry up and get out of the way because you might ruffle some feathers. That's part of the job. You have to be brave enough to do that. But yesterday, I was coming around near the end, and there was, in fact, one of Ashley's quilts that was one of the sugar skull things, and it was a raw edge applique. Really cute, well done, very nice. And then I forget, there was another one. Then there was this applique that was each block about this big had a floral design in it, and it was all satin stitched. It was amazing. And I looked at that and I thought, okay, that's one of those. They threw everything, including the kitchen sink, into it, and it was gorgeous. But then there was this little quilt beside it, and it was a little wall hanging, maybe about the size, a little bit bigger than my Misty Woodland quilt, okay? And the subject was dogs, and it had dogs in various activities. And there was something about it. It was the sweetest quilt. And I looked at the one with all of this. I mean, it's a lot of work to do a real satin stitch around all these applique flowers, leaves, stems. Although I noticed not all blocks were centered, there's little things that distracted me from it. And it was a little heavy. Sometimes just that heaviness can kind of push you back just a little. But anyway, I was looking at it. But then I looked at this dog, and she had done such detail with thread painting, but not too much. just enough. And I knew whoever made that quilt loved dogs, loved them. And she had a little tree, and the tree, I got so tickled because her leaves kind of went over on the border, which I get excited when people are creative enough to have the tree leave the little blockets in and join the big quilt as a whole. But there was so much creativity and there was so much love in this quilt, you could feel it. Does that make sense? And I thought of this past awful year we've had and how for so many of us, our dogs, our pets got us through a very rough time. And so I looked at the fancy quilts and I looked at this quilt and I said, her technique is spot on. Her piecing was spot on. Was it as complex as this one? No, but it was every bit as well done. In some ways better because she knew exactly how to edit. That's important too. Remember that. She knew exactly how to edit. And the heart came through in that. And I said, Deb, go with your heart. Your gut and your heart says that's your winner. So that's how I voted and scored her. And so when I was getting ready to go, we had added up all the score sheets, and the woman who's in charge went out and started putting the ribbons on the quilts. And you could tell some of the quilters were on the edges waiting to see who had won. And so I was talking and getting ready to leave. It was 2:30 in the afternoon. We were exhausted, been in the sun, hadn't eaten anything. I made myself drink enough water, and I saw this older woman, very simple older woman, down by that dog quilt, and I saw her go like this. And then I saw her look at the other quilts near hers and look back like, what's going on here? And then I saw her again do this. And then she started to walk up. She went back and she's looking at the other quilts and she's kind of shaking her head. And I thought, oh no, maybe she's the woman who did that very complex quilt. And she came back up and I said, and she had this big smile, but she was like, still, I don't understand. I said, is that dog quilt your quilt? She said, yes. And I can't believe I won. I think something's wrong. I won. And she got all flustered. And she said, and the woman who was doing the thing said, I'll get you your paperwork. She goes, I just want to get that ribbon before somebody realizes they made a mistake. It was so precious. My heart, I could feel my heart just swelling with happiness at her reaction. It made her day, probably her year. And I thought, I'm so glad I went with my instincts and my heart, because that's exactly what I was feeling from her quilt, that little quilt meant everything to her. And you could feel it through the quilt. I got to tell you, I got all choked up on the way home talking about that. And I said, that makes it all worth it. It makes it all worth it. I'm not a paid judge. She always kindly gives me a little gift certificate or something, or gift. But I do this because I love quilting and I love people. But I kept talking and thinking, the look on that woman's face, I'll take with me forever. And I said, now make sure to take a picture with your ribbon and send it to all your friends. She goes, oh, yes. And she was such a beautiful woman. And she goes, well, I love my dogs. I love my dogs. And I was like, oh, gosh, yes. But I told her, no, you did win and you deserve to win. I said, your attention to detail was wonderful and the quilt spoke to my heart. And I'm sorry, that has a lot to do with whether a quilt is successful. It's not just who can do the machinations just perfectly. There was one of the quilts that the people coming to see the quilts gave it, best quilt. And I said, what touched me about that quilt, Ashley, was that you fussy cut all of the fabrics. The little points on her flower star kind of thing, all had a design on it. It's centered in it. And so, that counts, to me, that counts a lot. Now, I don't know what an AQS judge or a Mancuso judge would say, but I knew in my heart I had made the right decision. So anyway, that's what I would tell you. And it was funny. There was some grouchy looking woman that came by and she said, I'm looking for the quilt that's been hand done. Not this machine done. And I said, well, there's one that's hand done and here's one. But I thought, I'm not going to say I'm a judge, even though I had, clipboard and all this stuff. And she was telling somebody, yeah, those are the real quilts, been done by hand. And she looked on the back of one and she said, see how the stitches are all different, all uneven? And I thought, okay. That's exactly why that quilt got marked down. But I didn't say a word. There was a militantness in her. And I thought, you know what? As quilters, you can have all your preferences you want. But as a good quilter, you need to move on with time. Learn to adapt. You can still have your preferences all you want. But be careful saying it out loud in front of a bunch of people, because the thing is, you start talking about somebody's quilt, that might be a person behind you. It might be their quilt. And I don't think we need to be angry about quilting. And the quilt world has changed so much in the 30 years, 40 years that I've been doing it. And, but you know what? Let's embrace the change. Let's grow right along with quilting, because you know what? The whole world is changing. Who thought that we would have a computer in our very hand that we can walk around with? Like Mark said, the watch that you wear, if you wear a digital watch, has more computing power than the first space capsule that landed on the moon. I mean, life is growing and changing, and enjoy it. I was afraid of the internet when it first came out, but now it brings the whole world right into my living room. We've got the best science, the best libraries that we can bring right into our own space. So, the machine quilting is harder than hand stitching, in my opinion, because I started out as a hand quilter, and machine quilting is faster, but it still challenges me every day. And I can hand quilt in my sleep. So anyway, but it's all good. It's all evolving. It's all changing. I saw painted quilts. I saw embellished quilts. I saw beautiful little jewels and beads and things. It was beautiful, and that's the whole big world of quilting. And let's embrace it all, because that way, in my world, the more color, the better. So, okay. So while I went there, I always take a couple quilts that are mine, and I put a note on them saying, this is the judge's quilt. It's not for judging, just for show purposes. So I took my flamingo quilt. The thing that was the cutest is the children's reaction. And so, I took that. And then I also took this one. The quilt show is held on Matthew's farm it is a living history farm. Let me close my shade a little bit. This time of year, that afternoon sun starts peeking in, and it's too much. Okay, so this I keep on the wall of the studio, and you don't get a chance to see it. Most of you have probably seen it, but I thought, while I had it down, while it's right down here, I would talk to you about it. I took a class from Marjan Klupfel in Pennsylvania 6 years ago, at least, if not a little bit more. And she was teaching this sunflower quilt. Now, I've made my own adaptations to it, which I love. Anytime I give you a pattern or we do a quilt, make it your own, because to me, that's exciting. I love seeing how your mind works. So this is a sunflower quilt. Now, oh gosh, this was a while ago. I didn't have ink tints even then. So I used my artist oil pastels to color the fabric. This was the first time I had been introduced to thread painting. So, of course, I did a lot of that, and I was introduced to the fact of making a two-sided leaf so that the leaf could leave the edge of the quilt. I got so excited at the thought of adding three-dimensionality in this. Then you remember how I do the sewing machine lace butterflies? This is one of three that's on this. And I just put sulky or any kind of dissolvable stabilizer in a ring. I draw with permanent markers only because water dissolves it. And then I do my thread stitching, making sure that I go back and forth and all around over it. Don't just do straight lines, because that thread creates the fabric, and it's very sheer. See, oops, you can see how you can see my fingers from behind it. Then this was the first time I wanted to give the effect of a sunflower and the seeds. So this has got beadwork on it. I used Minky here. Look at the yarn. And this was left over from I made a bedroom set, and it was left over fringe. So I did that. But then I did thread painting on all the different yellows to show shadow. I darkened with the thread painting. I darkened the areas that would be in more of a shadow. Each of the sunflowers I did differently, because to me they all have different personalities. And I used to go to the county fair every year with my kids. And when I would go back on Sunday to get our animals and to get any ribbons we had won, you would go into the fruits and vegetable building, and people would have taken those big sunflowers they entered and dump them in a trash can. I'd get them out of the trash can, take them home, wire them to my bird feeder, and the birds loved them. So here is my second one. And this time I used beautiful fall color yarn here. I did a little bit of stitching there on the top and bottom, and some really cool chenille yarn around the edge. Then here is another one of my butterflies. And I love all the different values that I did in the fabrics I chose. I think I ordered my fabrics. I ordered a whole bunch of quarter yard pieces from Connecting Threads years ago. And the first one I did, I gave to my daughter-in-law, and it had a purple background, which, purple and yellow are beautiful. But blue is my signature color. So when I made a second one, I used my favorite color. And I love how these leaves have dimension and shape. And there's batting in between them to give them some oomph. Here is my Monarch Butterfly that I made to put on this one. And you see this one? I tried to sew the Fibonacci mathematical thing, but it was too complicated. I couldn't do it. And on Minky was a little tough, but these are all the different Minkies. And up in Pennsylvania, I had gone to a shop when I knew I was going to take this class, and that's where I found the Minkies. So I now have Minkies that I keep on hand because you just never know. They can come and be creative and fit right in for what you need. Here is the quilting on the back of this. Just simple quilting to hold the quilt together, but let me show you the back and you'll see I didn't quilt on the flowers or the puffy leaves because I didn't want them to be smashed down. So I just thought I'd give you a close-up walk down memory lane for me. And like I said before, this is a Carol Dope pattern. It has I made this one 12 years ago. It still hasn't been bound. And if you were to look closely, you'd find a few safety pins, which is my signature. You messed up, need to take this out and do it again. So, but anyway, I'm going to take this upstairs. I took down my strawberry quilt upstairs, and I'm going to end up taking down my watermelon quilt because it's September and I love fall and I can't wait to decorate for fall. So this is going to go on my living room wall in place of the strawberries. And that for that reason alone, it's really nice to have quilts. So in fact, you'll see my pumpkin one. I hung that up just for today's show, but that's going to go up and go decorate my living room too. So it's fun to, it's like after a hot summer, it is so much fun when the weather starts to cool, although it's hot again today. Yesterday was really nice up in Galax where we went, and so thank goodness. But it's going to be upper 80s here today. So all I can say is thank goodness we have the new air conditioning. And I'll tell you another thing. This morning, my sweetheart left for a week at the beach. And he was so excited. It's been 2 years since he was at the beach because of the whole pandemic thing. We stayed close to home. And so he's so excited. He needs this. He's one of these people that he's always like on. He does the right thing. He's protective. He wants to check everything. When he does his job, he does the best he can do. And so everything he does, he's like that. And this, when he goes there and he stays in an old hotel that a lot of the fishermen, the ones that have the huge rod and reels and go down to the waterfront, the ocean front, and so that's where he goes. And he walks on the beach. He watches old movies in the hotel. He sleeps. It's the one place he can totally turn off the world and relax. So he has needed this. I think back to what he and I've been through. And, I had a cancer diagnosis a year ago. I had to have huge surgery. It was a major, major surgery. He sat in that waiting room for 10 hours waiting for me to come out of surgery. When we came home for a month, he gave me shots in my abdomen for the blood thinners I needed to take to make sure I didn't get a clot after that major surgery. He helped me and took care of me while I did the long recovery. So it's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And I am so happy for him to have this time away. Much, much deserved. So, and this means I can sew whenever I want. I can eat whatever meals I want when I want. I told him when you get back, there would be no ice cream sandwiches in that freezer because every night I'm going to have 2 of them. He said, don't you eat all those ice cream sandwiches. I said, you watch me. So anyway, but I'm tickled. The only thing I worry about is he gets on a motorcycle too. And I'll show you the pictures of his bike. He washed her. He waxed her. I always say, that's his girlfriend. Yeah. I've had to get used to another woman in the relationship, and she's gorgeous. She's got big, black, beautiful, got a nice wide behind, which is always important, you know. So she's gorgeous, and he loves her, and I'm always tickled because I encouraged him. I found the bike. He was talking about it. I wish I could get one. And I said, you know what? What are you waiting for? And we're burning daylight here. And we don't have little kids, and he's not trying to start an early career. And yeah, it's a little bit dangerous, but you know what? Crossing the street can be. And, you know, in this life, we have to do things that our heart desires. And this was an easy thing for me to say. Absolutely do it. Hi, Miss Jody. So anyway, here is the story of the Stitch. That's the name of the quilt show. Okay. And then these are the categories that I had to judge. Oh, so I had to judge the best quilt story because obviously the show is called Stories of the Stitch. The best one was a quilt, big old scrappy quilt, and the scraps were the leftovers from the 600 face masks she made for medical workers when the pandemic first started. And I thought, that's a clear winner right there. And especially after this pandemic year, made 600 masks out of her own stash to give away to medical workers when, do you remember, they couldn't get any supplies. So that was the best story. And I said, you know, I wrote on her comment sheet, this is the best of what quilters can be. And thank you. So anyway, so those were all the categories. We worked very hard, and I'm thrilled with it. And I will have that video coming, I promise. But I forgot all about my computer needing the tiny micro card. And so anyway, I thought I'd show you this. This is a sweet thank you note that Laura, who runs the Galax Arts Council, and it has a nice, generous gift certificate to a local quilt store. So I'm going to put my mask on, and I'm going to go shopping, because the one she gave me 2 years ago, I haven't used yet. So I'm going to take both of these. I told Mark I can get myself some nice fabric now. And since we just spent a fortune on an air conditioning system, it's the only way I'm getting some fabric for a while. So anyway, but thank you, Laura, for that nice gift. And Mark and I love it. We do it every September now. And Jeannie was a friend that I had years ago. She's moved away now, but she's the one that recommended me to do the job, and I love it. So thank you, Jeannie. All right. Then I'm going to go back to pulling out my quilts one at a time. And, is Vicki Robles here? Yay! And I saw Jean Puller's here. Hello, sweetie. And we were talking about you, Jody, so if you didn't tune in time to hear it, you'll have to watch it later. So, but I'm going to go back to my tradition of pulling out a quilt and telling you a little bit about it, because I think that it's fun for me to remember why I made it, how I made it, but it also maybe could become useful to you to know. So, all right. This I made back 2011, maybe 2010. It's funny that anything over the year 2000 can sound like way back when. But anyway, here it is. And this is called a broderie purse method of quilt making. And I'll show you why. I'll try to give you enough time to look at it, because I've seen some of my live streams where I go to show you a quilt and I move it too fast. And it's like, hey. All right. Well, I had this wonderful fabric that has so bright. And y'all will remember, well, I don't think peacocks ever have gone out of quilting, but this was back when the first peacock fabrics were coming out. And we were all like, whoa, you know, we had been so used to little calicos and boring pastels, and all of a sudden fabrics were amazing. So of course I had to get some of that bright fabric. Then I decided I wanted to do this pattern, and I wanted, whoops, do I have it upside down? I sure do. Let me hold it up again the right way. Okay. Here it is. All right. Now, the technique is called broderie purse, and it has nothing to do with the pocketbook. It has to do with Persian embroidery. So it was the word that came from Persian embroidery. And the method is from taking, fabric was so expensive in 17th, 18th, 19th, early 20th century. And chintzes were so desired because they had beautiful prints on them and shiny, just the texture, everything was so pretty, but they were very expensive. And you could get calicos and you could get muslins, not the kind of muslin we think of. These are the nice grade cottons. You could get those so much cheaper. So people, especially in the 1700s, the 1800s, especially then, they would take and cut out the designs from the expensive chintz fabrics and then applique it to the cheaper background. And that way you could make a bedspread or curtains, and it didn't cost so much money. So I like it because then you can take these different designs that you like and you can turn it into your own thing. So here you'll see I took out some flowers out of the main fabric. Whoops, hold on. Took some flowers out of the main fabric. I cut out some peacocks and different things that I thought were beautiful. And then I thought about doing an Asian style with the fans. And this is antique lace. See that? It looks like it's probably tatted, but it's antique lace on the edge of the fans. So I decided to do the fans and have these kind of trickle across. And I chose the black background to be dramatic. But I couldn't find the color for the fans, for the fan fabric that I wanted. I wanted it very pale so that the broderie purse jumps out at you. So I couldn't find the right colors that I wanted. So I took fabric I had. And in fact, these are fairy frost. They must have been new back then. Let me see. Yeah, they're fairy frost back when they were new. I know where I got them too. I got them from Mary Jo's in Gastonia, North Carolina. And that's closed now. That's been gone. But anyway, so I took a green and yellow that were too bright and I bleached them. Yep, I took them. I said, what have I got to lose? I don't like the color they are. So I put them in bleach and I kept mixing them and, until they were just about what I wanted. I pulled them out and I had to wash them and neutralize the bleach, because bleach will keep working if you're not careful. And I thought, oh, people are going to think I'm awful that I bleached. Then I heard, oh, other people do it too. And so anyway, but it gave me the pale look that I really wanted. So, and I took this quilt with me. I went to Jenny Byers' very last seminar, and I took it with me, and I did my show and tell. And that was the first time I'd ever done a big show and tell, and I was scared to death. But I got up there, and I did it. And that was nice. So, okay, let me see. You see our 2 Christmas blocks. I've got the third one to show you today and do with you. This week's been kind of busy, but remember that fabric that I bought from Sew Is For Sale, the group's IO group? Well, I took that fabric and I stretched it on a canvas. And, you know, you can buy those canvases pretty cheaply on sale at Joann's or Michael's craft store or whatever. And so I took the fabric, cut it out, got the alignment I wanted. I noticed that it wasn't quite going to be long enough for this. This is probably a 16 by 20 canvas frame. So I sewed a little bit of dark blue on the top and the bottom, which gave me enough to then take and staple it to the frame. And you know how I said I was probably going to take the other one and give it away? Well, Mark didn't want this above his dresser in his bedroom. I don't know why, but he didn't. So what I'm going to do now is use the other one, get another canvas, staple it on, and put these on either side of our bed in our bedroom. But I think it came out really good. So now I've had the canvas for a long time. You can get them cheap. It only costs $4 for the 2 panels, $2 each panel, and $1.60 to get it to me. So I just thought I'd show you it's an easy, inexpensive way to decorate your home. So I've done this several times before. If you see a fabric and you go, oh my gosh, it's perfect, then stretch it on a canvas, hang it on the wall. You're good to go. You don't even have to frame it. You just wrap it around. Let me show you again. You wrap it around the frame and you staple it. And okay, let me tell some of you, because if you're not used to doing it, this would help you, okay? What you want to do is you want to line it up on the correct side, and then you have it laying down like this. You take and put your first staple here. You go directly opposite to do, let me make sure that my camera's all the way backed up. It is, okay. So you put your first staple here. Then, making sure that the fabric is square, you pull this side nice and taut and put a staple there. Then you come on this end and you staple it right where you want it. You have to make sure that you're being even on your pressure and all of that. But you come to this side, pull this side a little taut, staple it, okay? So now you've got your centers done. Then what you do is you move out, staple here, move over this side, staple here, go back and forth. Then go down to the other end and check the front every now and then to make sure that you don't want to pull it, crooked. And then you staple here, pull this taut, staple here, staple here, staple here. You're taking turns spreading out so you're not accidentally skewing it like sideways. Then you do the same thing for both these sides. Then I take my fabric and I pull it at the corner and cut it at an angle to cut the excess off. And then I carefully tuck it in like you're doing a Christmas gift. I carefully tuck it in and fold a miter. See, this is mitered. It's a folded miter. And then I staple it twice. And it just depends on which way the fabric's going to lie best. Oops, it looks like I need another staple in this corner. See how that's I need to put one more staple right there to hold that neat and tidy. And then you can either put up a nail with a large head that this can just sit on, or you can put some kind of picture hanging hardware that will better hold the nail. And then you just hang it on your wall. But see, the sides are all, they're finished. so you don't need a frame. And it's inexpensive. That way you can change your decorations easily without feeling like you're wasting money. And I love it. So, all right. Got that. Did I kind of tell y'all that? Oh, let me show you one more thing. Hold on, guys. One moment. Oops. Oh, well. I was going to show you the other. Oh, here it is. I thought I'd kept it nearby. This is what the panel looked like before I framed it. Put it on, stretched it on the frame. So see, it's just a little fabric panel. But it can become a really nice piece of art on your wall. And our bedroom's painted a peaceful blue and has beach scenes. And so I thought that would go with it nicely. All right, let me check. We're taking a break for a few weeks from the Thursday night art quilts, but we will come back, I promise. And I am so proud of myself. I knew Mark would be going to the beach, so I got the house clean so I can take some downtime for me best I can. So I got all the dog's teeth brushed and scaled. I got Gromit groomed and his nails done, and I made one bleed. Sorry, Gromit. Thank goodness for styptic powder. But anyway, I'm going to take some time this week to do crafting. I'm going to catch up with some of my projects. I found out that the Christmas blocks that we're doing, all of the green ones or the darker ones are 8-inch blocks, so I'm having to scale them up in EQ8. Thank goodness for EQ8. So this is one of the ones that I had to scale up. This week's block is called Alternating Star. And somebody did tell me that when they did the first one, it was kind of complicated, and I'm sorry. The second one I thought was reasonably easy. This one's super easy. I'll show you. Here's the one half that I've already done. Nice and easy. So keep going. I promise you, you can do it. That's what I love about paper piecing. And like I did before, I will, as soon as we're done with this, I'll put this block on the website and our group's IO. And if you would like to do this with us and you don't belong to our group, so you can't get to our group to get the pattern, send me an email to, let me type it in real quick. Our Susan's working on a deadline, so we're here without her. Our time to quilt at twc.com. Shoot me an email and let me make should have had my glasses on. Yep. So shoot me an email to that and I'll be glad to send you. And if you don't have the first and second, I'll send those too. I try to remember who wanted me, who's participating. But if somehow I forget to send you, because I'm going to have these every week for you. If I forget to send it, please just shoot me another email. I don't mind at all. I love doing my emails. And I will be glad to get you caught back up. But remember, when we're done with these, you'll have everything you need for a Christmas quilt top. So I'm excited. I'm experimenting with different ideas for sashing and borders, but we're going to keep it simple so you can have something to hang up for Christmas. Doesn't have to be quilted. Mine won't be quilted by Christmas, but I'm going to hang it up anyway. All right. So I'm going to get ready and show you how to do that one. Let me see. I haven't worked on my crumb quilt at all. Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. Okay. I took time this week since I was getting the house cleaned up, and I cleaned up this room, and I'm so proud. When I was working on the Misty Woodland quilt, I had a huge pile like this. It was one of my big trays that I made out of foam core board. And it was one of those big trays, and it was just heaping, falling over. I took and re-ironed all that fabric, refolded it. If it's going to be if it's less than, a half a yard, I ironed and folded back and put back on the mini comic boards all the rest of the fabric along with the new stuff I had in, and I used giant paper clips to hold them on this. And it is so nice. I mean, when you buy the fabric, you know how it's folded and the selvages meet down here and there's a fold up here? If you fold it one more time lengthways, then it fits perfectly on this mini comic board. And I need to put another order in. Best price I've found is Connecting Threads. So check around, but they come in a pack of 100 for less than $10, and they're wonderful. They give stability to my fabric. Then I have these inexpensive little mini laundry baskets. And, well, in fact, I'll show you right here. Here is one of my Christmas fabrics on the mini comic board. Makes them so easy to store because they fit in these dollar store, standing up like this, they fit in the dollar store mini laundry baskets, and makes it very easy. I have shelves in my closet, and I just have them lined up on the shelves. Anything that's too small for that to put on a comic board, any that are too small to be comic board worthy, I fold that Marie, what is that woman? It's really good at organization, but I fold them all to a uniform square size. And then for those, I have cutlery inserts, and I stick them all in the cutlery insert. Thank you, Vicki Maria Kondo. And you're welcome, Miss Marcia. And so that way, I don't know about y'all, but when my room gets too messy, I can't focus, and it like sucks my creativity out of me. And so I remember I told y'all I promised myself after doing the major room cleaning that I'm not going to be sloppy anymore. And I'm trying very hard to live up to that. So, oh my gosh, it took me 2 days just to get the fabrics from the Misty Woodland Quilt project all ironed, refolded, put away. So, yay, I'm really proud of myself. Got the new fabrics all folded. So, the place is looking right good. Let me see if I can. Got that table cleaned off, and my cutting table is cleaned off, and my counter just needs a couple more things tucked away, and yay. So I'm working on that. So now, I'm trying to think if there's anything. Don't forget about the pincushion contest. We are going to be, I need that your photo of your entry to my email at ourtimetoquilt@twc.com by October 1st. Then that Sunday, the 3rd, I'll show all the pictures. You get to vote, and the winner wins a $10 gift certificate to the quilt shop of their choice. Okay, so now I normally try to have 3/4 of the block done so that I just do one piece with y'all. But I didn't get down here today early enough. I was very tired. My back hurts. My feet are sore. But you know what? I got to tell you, thanks to all of you and your encouragement, I was in better shape judging the contest yesterday than I've ever been. And Mark was shocked. He was like, man, you were just going for 4 hours straight. I was. So anyway, I wanted to thank y'all, and my blood sugar numbers are good, and my blood pressure is good, and I'm doing great. So me and my little left kidney, we're doing a good job. So, oh, yeah, I know what you mean. And in fact, my frame room upstairs, Miss Polly will tell you that one needs straightening. But I don't know what it is. I blame it on my age, but I can't seem to get all of it straight at the same time. That's too much work. But all right. So here is the pattern. I will send this to you by email. I've also been sending people the gray and white picture of the blocks we're going to make so they can color in and decide where to place their fabric. That's the hardest thing to me about paper piecing, is deciding where everything goes. So what I do is I come in here and I write down what of the fabrics that I'm using do I want and where. And boy, does that make life easy for me. So, I tell you what, before I work on this, let's go look at your show and tell. This is probably going to be a shorter show today. I'm tired. That's all I can say. So, what was I going to say? Oh, and on the 24th, I'm taking another online class. Thank you, Mancuso. You are the best people. So I get to take a class, and I just remembered I got an email saying it's coming up. And the class is not this week, but next week. And the class I'm going to take is, how we all have seen those big Dahlia printed Kaufman panels? I've had one for years. I'm afraid, I'm frozen from starting it because it's like, I want to be really good when I do that, right? So I'm taking a class where she's going to teach us how to break down that big Dahlia print and plan to quilt it. So I'm so excited. I think it's an all-day class. I cannot wait. And she's already sent some material that I'm going to find helpful to use. And I'm very excited. So anyway, that'll be on the 24th, I think. All right. So let's go do your show and tell. Then after show and tell, I'll show you again paper piecing this week's block. All right. Here we go. Mark had to reseal the camera last night, so I promised him I would be very careful how I handle it. Boy, he tightens things down too. So all right, here we go. Oh, I need to tell him to offset the microphone so I can get the camera turned just right. All right, here we go. All right, let's go to your show and tell, because I've got some great ones for you. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, Miss Alberta sent us her quilt, a king-size quilt. I have never done a king-size quilt. Isn't that gorgeous? Look at those wonderful fall colors. Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. Whoever is lucky enough to get that quilt is going to have many, many, many years of enjoyment. I love how she's got creams and the whites. And you know why? Because the whites really make the quilt pop. And sometimes people are either use creams or whites, but using them both was a brilliant choice. And look how sharp that inner border is. Even with this cream block in the corner, that is wonderful. Alberta, you outdid yourself, darling. That is absolutely wonderful. Okay, now let's see. I love when y'all send me new pics, and y'all have been so wonderful sending me pictures of your work. I'm going to show Betty's again because this was so cute. She did a beautiful job too with the framing of this quilt. And she was working on this, and a painter came in and said, that looks like the Garden of Eden. So guess what? There's the little bare bum, Adam and Eve, and apples on the tree. Isn't that cute? So way to go. Oh, I think that is a snake down there. I was wondering if there was going to be a snake. Way to go, Miss Betty. I love it. I love your sense of humor, too. Very, very good. All right, Miss Bonnie has been very busy. Let's see. Whoops. Let me hold on one second. I've got to hold on. Okay, here we go. Let me take this out too. Okay. She's been working again on her blocks, and they are wonderful star blocks. Way to go, Miss Bonnie. You know, sometimes we get busy doing this or that, and we have to kind of remember to come back to some of the projects we were working on. She finished and quilted her Irish elephant. Isn't that cute? This pattern came from one of her, she's a test quilter for the Quilt Pattern magazine. And, oh, that is so cute. I love it. And then, you know, she had finished this wonderful table runner recently. Love that one too, especially those great colors. All right, now let's see who, Charlene. And okay, so we were all really impressed with her 3-part, this was our real mini art quilt where we took sun, sky, or water and one object and kind of did a study of 3 things with an unusual, unconventional, what I was terming live edge. This is her beautiful finished work. Isn't that wonderful? And I love her thread painting, just wonderful. Well, she is a surprising lady because not only she's also doing the kaleidoscope with me, that Durkee Tim's kaleidoscope, and then she sends me a picture. Oh yes, she's been doing the Alex Anderson spinning spools. Oh my goodness. I tell you what, made me feel real lazy. Good job, Miss Charlene. That's wonderful. Way to go. Okay, now let's see. Whoops, no, I didn't mean to do that. Go back where you came from. Okay. All right. Now, here we go. Charlene Piper. And she worked on the Misty Woodlands quilt. I love it. Love it, love it, love it. And here's a more finished view. And I love how she made it her own with the birds and the flowers. Beautiful, beautiful job. Beautiful. Then, look what she did for her 3-part mini art quilt. And oh my gosh, that is absolutely beautiful. And she far exceeded my little pitiful pattern that I drew up. Look at that. Isn't it beautiful? She's got the dramatic sky. She's going to have a natural edge down here. It is dramatic. Wonderful. I love it. She's got seagulls even. And the attention to detail in that lighthouse, the stone look. I mean, that is gorgeous. Way to go, Miss Charlene Piper. Way to go. Make sure you take a few moments to finish it so that you will always have that work of art. All right. Then let me see what I've got. All right. Here's my sweetie this morning getting his bike girlfriend ready to go. And he puts his leather riding jacket over. I mean, he has this thing packed. He has these called saddlebags, this back here, all of this. He packs it left, right, and center, let me tell you. And he gave her a bath and waxed her. And he's got a brand new helmet. And in that helmet, it is Bluetooth enabled. So he can make phone calls. He can listen to his GPS without having to take his helmet off. It's got a little microphone in there. That was this year's birthday present. Well, actually, it was for 2 years worth of birthday. And so he's pretty well set to leave. He left this morning. But that is a well-packed up bike. and shining so pretty. This bike is like 20 years old, and he takes such good care of it. Okay. Oh boy, I took plenty of pictures. I didn't realize I took so many, but he loves that thing. He loves it. Yep, getting ready to go. Now, this is an interesting thing I wanted to show you. It is a chandelier made of empty vaccination bottles. Is that beautiful or what? A nurse made that to celebrate hopefully stamping out this COVID. So please get your vaccination so she can keep making more of these. Isn't that cute? This is my daughter. I've got to find out where this is, somewhere downtown. But she's taking dance classes and she's having so much fun. Here is my grandson, Devin, my granddaughter, Kylie. These two are the Eastern Shore grandkids. He's getting ready to go in the Marines in about another week or so. We are going to miss that boy, but we are so proud of him. Here he is. He decided to go ahead and buzz cut his hair, and then he participated in an agility course, and he ended up winning a ribbon. That boy is strong. I would say he's Marine ready, isn't he? This is their dog, Henry, who not that long ago was a little puppy, and I find that the older he's gotten, the more he's revealed that, yes, he has a lot of chow in him, and he's just such a cutie. That's sweet, Henry. Then this is my daughter, Katie. This is my granddaughter, Kylie. And both of those kids have had their vaccinations. So very proud of them. All right, so that's from me this week. Then, our new member, Debbie. Look at her beautiful landscape quilt. And I love her double inner border. I love her progression of intensity of fabrics. I love, love, love her thread painting, the grasses, and just beautiful. Way to go, Miss Debbie. Okay, now let's see. Miss Jody. Well, you know, when we were talking earlier about her, she has her signature work that is just unbelievable. But she is not just a one-trick pony, even though these are quite a big trick, let me tell you. But, whoops, go back. Hold on. She is doing the Christmas block of the week, too. And I love the creativity with the colors of fabrics. Look at this. Isn't that wonderful? That kind of reminds me of a peppermint candy. That is so cool. So way to go, Miss Jody, lady of many talents. All right. Kathleen Ziegler sent me a picture. She was staying with a friend, and she's working on her moon glow. We both had moon glow kits from years ago, and she's gotten bold and brave enough to start work on hers. That inspires me. I need to get to work on mine because I want to enjoy it during the time I'm on this earth, and I can't enjoy it if it's sitting in a plastic bag. This is the cutest little mouse. This is from Miss Linda McCollum, and I don't have the heart to delete this photo because he's so darn cute. Okay. Now, Miss Lisa, I am so excited to show you. Miss Lisa is such a bright spirit, one of our new members. And when I saw this photo, look, she did this. She's painted a scene on a church nursery room. And look at her face. She is just the beautiful sprite that I thought she was. And I'm so excited to see her work. Very talented lady. But she's done this that the church people built the little dock, and then she came in and painted these undersea creatures. Quite an artist, I would say. All right, here is the octopus again. Is he just the best? Oh my gosh. And when I first saw him, you can't help but fall in love with him. But then, oh, you wait till you see the turtle. And look at this whale. Isn't she incredible? And it looks like she has some Hebrew writing on there. That's fantastic. But isn't that wonderful? So here, we did our little undersea quilts. She did a whole mural. Look at this. And this is her husband. Hi, Mr. Lisa. I guess his name, was it Lisa and Kyle or Lisa and Kevin? But isn't this great? So I'm just thrilled. Look at this. Didn't she do an outstanding job? Look at all of this. And look at that turtle. So now I'm torn. I don't know whether the octopus or the turtle's my favorite. But isn't that a work of art? Beautiful, beautiful job, Miss Lisa. So I'm hoping she'll keep sending us photos of her work because I'm very impressed. All right, so that was Lisa. Now Miss Mary. Okay, so Miss Mary is working on the Christmas block of the week. Yay, Miss Mary. Love her color choices. What fun. Then she wanted to participate in the 2-week only 3-item mini art quilt. So she found this wonderful inspiration photo. And let's see what she did with it. Look, whoops, that's the finished one. Let me go back to, I guess they're all the finished. But these, let me go backwards again. I just wanted to show you the things she did. And what I love about this is she kept it simple. It's still very beautiful, but she kept it simple. And she allowed the outside edge to give that feeling of the water and the air. And look at the beautiful swarm of birds in front of the moon. So, wonderful job, Miss Mary. We love your work. And I'm hoping that doing something like this kind of helps you focus on a smaller scale and not be so overwhelmed by a larger project. We'll do more of those here and there. Miss Melanie, I showed you a lot of her stuff from last week. The iris quilt that she did as a row robin with a quilt group that she's finishing. Her pounded flowers. Beautiful, beautiful. We've done those before. The irises. She had to decide the layout. Beautiful. Look at that machine embroidery stitched. And I love her dog portraits. Beautiful. Another pounded flower. And she said if you treat the fabric right, it can be permanent. So that's wonderful. Her husband quilts with her. This is his quilt in progress. And one of these machines is hers, and one of them is his. I have a feeling that's hers, and this is his. Because that kind of reminds me Mark would keep his stuff all totally nice and neat. But I could be wrong. Who knows? So nice, nice, nice. And how lucky they have each other to quilt with. Here are both of her dog portraits. Beautiful work. There's the iris quilt getting closer to being finished. Tribute to her mother. This is one of her husband's quilts. He's hanging it up. He was an engineer and now he is enjoying quilting. I think that's fabulous. You know, John Flynn was an engineer too. And it seems like engineers have the kind of brain. You know, this is made of all triangles. So, oh my goodness. But that's not too big for an engineer. They can handle that. So way to go. Thank you, Miss Melanie. And I need to remember what her husband's name is. And this is Melissa. She is our newest member. And she won Judge's Choice at this quilt show. It's the Kumquat 2015. Look at that wonderful, wonderful work. Way to go. Then look at this. Is that court jester just amazing? And then she has a close-up of it. Look at the stones. Look at the work, the quilting, the jewels. Oh, beautiful, beautiful job. Okay. And look at this. I first thought he might be a farmer. And then I said, you know what? Maybe he's a train engineer. But it says feed and seed on his hat. He's a farmer. Okay, there we go. But isn't that beautiful? Absolutely beautiful. So thank you, Miss Melissa, for sharing your work with us. You're very talented. We want to see more. More. And then here's Miss Patricia in Nova Scotia. I'm hoping she's doing well, even though that, was it Ida that went all the way up? So I'm hoping she's okay. And then here is her diamond painting. This one and this one. I tell you what, that is dedication. All those tiny, tiny little chips to put in that work. Okay. Now, let's see. Miss Polly, her last view of her wonderful tartan quilt, and last view of her wonderful fall misty woodland quilt. Beautiful, beautiful. I like too. She gets her stuff finished, ready to move on to the next thing. I admire a woman that can get stuff done. Here is, this is Cheryl with an S. And these are her grandchildren recently on a big family get-together. Beautiful children, beautiful grandchildren. Then look at her wonderful hexie work. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Isn't that wonderful? Wonderful, wonderful. The way to go. All right. I think we're just almost done. Miss Susan, I'll show you these again, some things that she has gotten done. I'm really proud of her with everything she does. Way to go. There's two more. She finished the Dad's Plaids. I love that. I do believe that was a test quilt. And I think this one is a test quilt pattern that she has finished. Isn't that beautiful? Way to go. All right, let me see. I think that's our last of your show and tell. Please send me photos. All right, let me turn this all around. Send me your photos at Our Time to Quilt at twc.com. And, oops, let me tighten this back down. I'm trying to be real good with this camera. Okay. So, all right, because it's a good camera. I don't want to have to buy another one just because, unfortunately, the screw keeps getting loose. But it feels a little crooked, but I think there's nothing I can do about that without hurting the camera. All right. So let me close this down and come back to you guys. And there we are. All right. So aren't you talented? But anyway, I'm going to write my address one more time. And it's Our Time to Quilt at, whoops, put the glasses back on, Deb. That was the hardest thing after my cataract surgery is needing to go back to glasses. Our Time to Quilt at twc.com. Yes, when I went in and said, after my surgery, the last 6 months, I don't have to have glasses to read, thinking somehow my eyes had just magically healed. She goes, no, that just means your cataracts have gotten worse. So she said, you do know to fix that cataract, you're going to have to lose the reading vision. I said, that's okay. I would rather see more clearly, see colors better. I don't want my world dimming down. So I'm so glad I had it done. I really am. All right. So what we're just going to do now is I'm going to sit here and chat with you. And, somebody's basement filled with water. Hi, Mary. Oh, that sounds wonderful. Oh, hi, Kim. Oh, you didn't get notification. I'm sorry, sweetie. Luckily, it's always right there for you to go back and check. So now we're making the third Christmas block. And don't forget, if you make each of these, there's the first one and the second one. If you make one block a week, you will have a Christmas quilt to hang up in time for Christmas. So now I'll bring the camera and y'all wasn't that chandelier cool with all of the empty vaccination vials? I thought that is beautiful. I just had to show y'all that. All right. So now we can chat while I sit here and work on this Christmas block. And this one is called the Alternating Star. I'm just going to kind of have to bring it down here. Oops, let me see. Oh boy, let me see. I'm trying not to break this. I don't want y'all telling Mark. You should have seen her. She was just being careless. He had to put some more of the Gorilla Glue, which is kind of an expanding foam kind of stuff. And he had to put more of that on the camera. Hold on. I think one of my problems, he's got these set up odd. Well, it's going to be hard. I'm just going to have to kind of hold it up and show you because the way he put this on there now, my little joints on this arm have to be turned just so. So what I'm doing, this is the B group, and then I have an A group. So get my scissors here and my iron. But now, if you have any questions, okay. Oh, isn't he a handsome fellow? That Devin, he's something else. What a wonderful young man. He just graduated high school. He is studying to be a medic and an EMT, and he's just taken all kinds of wonderful classes. Okay, he's a wonderful child. I just love him to bits. All right, I'm going to start with A1. That says light green. Okay, now for this one, here is my medium green, and here is my light green. So let me get a nice piece of light green with paper piecing. Somebody said they had a little trouble trying to figure it out, so let's show you that. And, okay, so this now is the A section, okay? See, everything is A, that numbered A. And the A and B are different, and I like making them different color choices because that brings a sense of sparkle to the quilt. A lighter blue, lighter green, darker green, a shiny metallic red, or a kind of matte generic red. So I think, when this moves away, then you get a little bit of sparkle. All right, so here's the piece I'm going to work on. I turn it over. You put the fabric on the back. You remember that I said to fold it really good because when you fold it on all of these lines, then you know where to place your fabric. So I'm going to come down with glue, and I'm going to, I need to open up one of my new glue sticks, I'm thinking, and use my glue stick, put it on the section, then put my green fabric down. I wish I had when he was putting this back on yesterday when we got home, I wish I had paid attention to what he was doing. So, let me see. Maybe this needs to. Yeah, let me see. Oh, I might have it better. I'm going to keep working with it. I'm still trying to be careful with the camera. But let me see if this will work better. Okay, so here is the green fabric. Let me get my little ruler. And we're just going to chat while I'm doing this. And so don't feel badly if you've got things to do and you want to go or what. But now what I do is I put the fabric back on this side, I trim up as I go. I try to keep it nice and tidy, okay? And the most important thing is keep a trash can right down here so I can just toss in what I don't need. Oops, my glue didn't work. Let me grab a new. Luckily, when Mark went to Walmart the other week, I said, would you get me some new glue sticks? Didn't know I'd be starting in. Ow. Be careful, that plastic goes under your fingernail. It doesn't feel good. Let me grab a new one. I said, if schools are just opening up, you can probably get them for about 50 cents. Guess what? That's exactly what they were. So, yeah, oh, that's nice. Yeah, I was, here's my other one. It was kind of running out. And this one is wonderful. So rub some glue. And this is a disappearing purple. But it helps to know if I've covered the area. All right, so I put this back on here, right here. And you fold this back on the line. Oops, it'll help me get it lined up just right. Okay, yeah. Okay. So now I have 1/4 of an inch right here. Then I want to fold back on this line and leave just 1/4 of an inch here. So this is where these add 1/4 rulers can be real handy because you just bump it up against the fold. And there you go. And actually this is an add a 3/8, so it's a little bigger than 1/4, but it still works. I like it because it's longer. The other add 1/4 is a short one. All right, so then I'm just cutting the excess off right outside the, this was coming loose, right outside the sewing line, like that, okay? Because you sew the blocks together along this line right there. Right now I need a piece of shiny red. So I have a piece of that. And see what I mean about shiny? Let me see if I can get it. Yeah, there goes the sparkle. I love these new. The old metallics were terrible. Oh my gosh, you go to iron them and they come off on the iron. So I put these two, line it up, put it underneath here. So marking my stitch down to 1.8, make it nice and short so when I tear off the paper, it won't come loose. And then I start early and finish late, meaning I start sewing over here and I stop sewing all the way over here. Now I'm going to give this a good press. All right. I like keeping the iron right here beside me. And then I come, and since this is the seam allowance line, I just line this up even. I give it a cut that way. And turn it around. Give it a good cut this way. And then let me cut this little tip off like that. Now, what I've been doing, that's probably why I ran through so much glue, is I've been putting a little touch of glue to hold this down so I don't have to come around. I either put a touch of glue to hold it or I come to a basting stitch within the seam allowance. And that way I don't have to worry where that edge is when it's time to sew the next piece. This one says dark blue, so I get my dark blue right here. And I line it up. Let me get these out of the way before I accidentally cut them. All right, so I'm going to line this dark blue up like this with the other, because remember I already trimmed that to 1/4 of an inch. Now to make sure I have enough fabric, I always bend back the fabric like this and say, yep, I've got plenty of fabric for that. And in fact, I can move it over a little bit to save a little bit more, then fold it down. Yep, that works perfectly. So now, if you want, you can put a pin here, or you can just come and stitch it. And I like that small stitch because it holds that fabric nice and tight. Okay. Now let me get the iron really quickly. Be careful. I was watching somebody on another YouTube channel, and they were doing the paper piecing, and it made me nervous. They had a small little iron right beside the big mat, and oh my gosh, it made me so nervous that they were going to forget and iron the mat. Let's say, what if you do iron your mat? Well, you know what's going to happen. It's going to warp and melt, right? What should you do? There are ways of trying to get it back. One of them is you put a wet towel on it, a damp, very, very damp towel, iron the top of the towel to gently warm up the mat. But to do that, you need to have something very heavy, heavy books or something. Have it on a hard surface floor and have it on a hard surface. And soon as with that wet towel, you heat up the mat, pull off the towel, put the weight on it, and let it sit for a few days. And cross your fingers, you can get some use back out of it. It might flatten it back out. But please do not leave a sewing mat in the car. Do not leave it in the sun. Do not iron on your rotary mat. They just don't like it. Oh, gosh. Okay. What are y'all talking about? That is funny. Okay, let's see. All right, now a matte red on the end. Okay, whoa. This was starting to, this one where I trimmed off this side started to be a little close. So you know what sometimes I do with that? I take and put a little spot of glue. I come and kind of give the fabric a little stretch. That way I know it will cover that line. And then I just push it down in place. So I show you all the tricks because, hey, like I told you before, any mistake you could make, I have already made. So if I can show you something that might help in your journey, make it easier for you, I do not let things upset me because, you know, things like the car breaking down or the air conditioning not working, those are problems. Things like this are just inconveniences. And, you know, we have to pick our battles in this world, ladies. Okay, so now I come and fold this back on the next sewing line. Put my little ruler here. This helps protect your fingers, too. Please do not cut your fingers. Then I'm going to come on this side, fold it back on this next sewing line. Put my little ruler here. And here we go. All right. So now that's in place. And you know what? Oh, this is the old one. Let me see if I can get any out of it. Oh, there it is. Well, that's interesting. I never knew. I never took one apart. So, all right. So now I want to push this down in place. That way it holds it. I go grab my background fabric. This is my background fabric. And I'll put it in place here. Fold this back. Yep, there's plenty of room. I hope this is all making sense to you guys, because I want you to, what the most important thing for me is for you to be successful. If you want to do these, I want to make sure I've given you enough information that you aren't worried about how to do it. Okay. All right, let me press this. All right. So now I turn this over, and you know I'm left-handed, so I have to I'm so dominant left hand too. I can't switch back and forth, except for ironing. I can iron best with my right hand. All right. That's because my mother taught me that way. All righty. Now I'm going to trim up both of these sides and right along the dotted line, because that's the edge of the seam allowance. And then the solid line is the line you sew on. So, oops, one more piece. Okay, hold on. I've got to put this piece on. I'll line it up. Let me see. Oh my goodness, I did barely get that blue. Barely got that blue in there. So I'm going to sew it nice and firmly. In fact, if you're at all worried, sew it twice. Okay. I'm going to drop the stitch down to 1.6 just to make sure, since I have a scant seam allowance there. Okay. All right. Whoops. So cross your fingers for me that at some point I get my Juki sewing machine back, because I sure miss it. I want to finish my Misty woodland quilt, but I want my Juki to do the thread painting with, because I'm more comfortable doing it on that machine. So I don't know. They say they haven't been able to get parts in, and I mean, I believe him. I want my baby back. Oh, let me turn this around so I can get a better cut and a safer cut. Be careful. I know sometimes we think, well, I can just cut it the way it sits instead of turning it around. But anytime you do something out of the ordinary, that's how you get injured. Okay? So I need to sharpen my blade again. Okay. Give this a good press. I'm going to sew these two pieces together, and then I'll tell you goodbye, because I still have that one more corner, but I've showed you enough. I think you understand. Now, trying to figure out how to put these back in place, because here you go, and you could do it this way, but then you're going to end up with an odd angle for that. So what I'm going to do, titanium blades are wonderful. Hi, Melissa, you are here. We loved your work, hon. Okay, so now I'll show you, and you see how these alternate. This gives a nice square 1/4 of the block. So what I'm going to do, and this is the most important part of paper piecing, in my opinion, is joining the two together to get it exact. You put that pin right through that intersection. Then you come over to the same intersection on the other piece. You come right up. I mean, get it perfectly in that intersection. Now, you just leave it sit there. Don't try to lay it down or finish pinning. Just leave it there, okay? And you want to make sure it's perpendicular. I learned this from Alex Anderson. Then I come in here and I put the pin that holds it back here, okay? Then I'm going to get another pin, and I'm going to put it right through this intersection. And then come over to this one, come right up at this intersection. There we go. Now, when the pin is perpendicular like that, I know I'm right in place. So then I put a pin here. Now I can take this one out. I'm going to come up. There's no intersection, but I do want to get these two sides matching, or I could match up at the very end, but I'll just do this. So I go right on that line. I push them together and come up on this line. Hold on. I'll get it. Go right into this line, come up on the line in the back, and it looks like this piece, when I was cutting them as a group, it got a little close. All right. Now that this is lined up, I can take this pin out and put that in, then take this one out and sew these together. I will turn my stitch back up to 1.8. Okay, 1.8, and start beyond and just sew right on the actual solid line, which is the stitching line. And just remember, when you come over some of those intersections, that's quite a few layers of fabric, so just take it easy. All right, then I pull out my pins, and let's see how we did. Yay, that is beautiful. I love it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is turn over here real quickly, and I'm going to use my finger, and I like to press these seams open because it's just so thick right there with all of these layers. And if I press it open and iron it, then it's going to lay flatter. Let me get my iron, put it here. And I tell you the truth, I cannot stress enough that no matter how you're piecing your quilt, the iron is your best friend, because the iron keeps everything nice and tidy and smooth. I just noticed something. I have some shadowing going on here. Let me show you. And when I judged the quilt show yesterday, there were several quilts that had shadowing problems. And what that's from is the blue, this light fabric, is allowing that red to come through. Now, if I were going to put this in a show, I'd make sure to tuck the seam allowance the other way, because obviously this light fabric is sheer enough that it's showing that through. And that is a no-no when you enter a quilt into a show. So see, that's called shadowing. So, but this will never be in a show, and it's a quick and fun Christmas quilt. And now, can you see how this block is coming together? So I just need to do 2 more pieces, but I'm not going to bore you with that. But isn't this a cute star too? Your husband shadows you. I can only imagine. Now I want to hang this up with our others, so I'm just going to tape it on the back so I can hang it up so you can get the idea of where we're going with this. Okay. All right. Now, whoops, careful with the camera, Deb. I know y'all will tell on me if I'm not careful. Let me hang this up. I'll be right back. Right. All right, let's take a look at that. That's block number 3. And I will be glad to send it out to you. And yes, it's missing a quarter, but you get the idea of how they go together. And I will put this pattern on Groups.io website as soon as I go upstairs. And any of you who want pattern number 3, just shoot me an email. I'll send it right back to you. Also, if you haven't done any of these 3 and you'd like to jump in now, please do. Send me an email at, hold on, I got my glasses on, can't blame it on that. Our Time to Quilt at twc.com. Okay, so I would be glad to share these patterns with you. I found these patterns at Wombat Quilts. Wonderful woman named Kathy down in Australia. So if you go to her site, please thank her for her generosity. These were all free patterns. I shot her an email and said, could I please use them on my YouTube channel? And I love them. All right. And just so you know, this is when you see me having trouble typing, it's because I have this laptop sitting on top of one of those little baskets. This is my big, fancy, professional equipment. But you know what? It works. I enjoy it. And it's fun and easy for me. All right, guys. I think I'm going to go upstairs, get something good to eat for lunch. No, it's 5 o'clock. I don't know if I'll be eating lunch, but I'll get something good to eat for dinner. And then I might lay in the hammock all evening. So take good care of yourselves. I missed Linda today. Hopefully Miss Linda is fine. I'll be thinking about her. But thank you for joining me. Thank you for spending this time in my life. I really think you add more to my life than I could ever give to you. So thank you so much. Do something good just for you this week, okay? I know you can. And let me know what it is. Take a picture of it. Yeah, that would be fun. Send me a photo by email. Send me a photo of something you're doing that's just something nice for you, okay? I love it. And enjoy, any of you that are gardeners like Miss Mary, enjoy your garden because they won't be around too much longer. It's almost time to pull out the pumpkins. So, all right, guys, you're the very, very best. Oh, y'all are so sweet to me. Thank you so much. You give me so much. Take good care of yourselves. Do something special just for you. You know what I used to always say? You can't take care of others until you take care of yourself. So have a great week. Take good care. I hope Mark's having fun at the beach. Enjoy, honey. I'm just happy the dogs were quiet for 2 hours. Yay! Take care. Bye-bye, guys. See you next week. Y'all are the best. Bye-bye.